David. Adonai Eloi lo yachzor, binotesh yabitzeni, al mei menuchot yanaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'maglei tzedek, leman shemo, gam ki elech begeit zal mavet, lo yirara, ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha, heima yenachamuni. Taruch lefanai shulchan, neged sorerai. Dishanta Vashem Roshi, Kosi Revaya. Achtov v'chesed, Yudafuni kol yamei chayai. V'shabtu b'beit Adonai, leyorech yamim. We just chanted Psalm 23 in the Hebrew. Please join me if you know the words in the English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. A good person, though taken from us too soon, will rest in peace for honor in old age. Does not come through the length of life. Honor in old age does not come through the length of years. Understanding is the gray hair of humanity. A blameless life is ripeness of age. Perfection is limited years. Is like living for many years. So a good person, though taken from us too soon, will rest in peace. Let us then, with peace of mind, let that good soul rest. And we say, Amen. As mentioned, we are gathered today to send off Lou to a life well lived and touch many. This is just a small representation of the people that he touched. It's really something special. We wish condolences to his family, to his beloved wife, Barbara, of 61 years, to children, Chad and Amanda, Jack and Peter, his grandchildren, Jessica, Jordan, Tyler, Ethan, Isabella, and Carter. And the true blessing is to live long enough to see a great-grandchild, Ezra. At this point in time, we also remember his predeceased family members, his parents, Ben and Pauline, and his brother of blessed memory. May all of you find comfort and strength during this most difficult time, but at the same token, celebrate a life well lived. As we continue on with our service, we're going to hear some thoughts from Lou's children. We'll first call up speaker number 1, Jack.
It's kind of amazing at 87, there's this many people to be here to celebrate my dad, and I thank all of you for coming. But anyone, the one common thing that I've heard throughout the entire process is that my dad, everyone would say, he's the coolest guy. He's the coolest guy. And I'm like, okay. So in today's world, I asked ChatGPT what you thought what being cool was all about. And this is what it says. A cool person is someone who comforts, who's confident, easygoing, authentic, and sometimes other naturally enjoys being around. And I'm like, awesome. And here's what it makes you come across as cool based on how you write and interact. This is the ChatGPT talking to me. Confident and humble. My dad was very confident, but he was also very humble. He was always open to everyone at all times. He was authentic. He was who he was. Everybody knew exactly who my dad was, where he was, and what he was about. He was curious, and he did that because he was very entrepreneurial, right? He was always trying to do new things. My mom would say, Louis, let's go do this, let's go do that. Like, I don't want, and then he'd come back and say, oh, the symphony was amazing. It was just incredible, right? And he also had a professional chill about him. So fortunately, my brothers and I had the opportunity to work with my dad all the time and spend time with him and see how he interacted with all the different people out there. And he just had this chill factor about him that everyone just loved to see him. And even so, he was so chill, the cops used to like mess with him. We would be driving home from Coventry, a store, Coventry Antiques, and all of a sudden, the red lights are flashing behind him. And the cop would come up with his hat pulled down to his brim, and he'd be like, sir, you were speeding. And then they would look up and say, gotcha. We'll see you tomorrow, Louis, right? So, I mean, that's just my dad. And he was very balanced, right? My dad was never too high. My dad was never too low. He was always in the middle. So when I'm reflecting on this, right, we all had those attributes. But definitely, in my opinion, he was the coolest. And cool started really early for my dad, right? When he joined the Air Force, he started racing cars. And most people probably don't even know this, but he would take these MGs, although you guys, many of you would remember his MGs that he had and all his cool cars, but he'd have these MGs, and he would be doing endurance racings all the time. And I remember going down to his office in the basement, and he'd have these trophies sitting out there, and I'm like, Dad, where'd these come from? And he goes, oh, this one right here, this is my favorite one. This was the Michigan, whatever it was, because that's where he was stationed. And he said, I had a 24-hour race that we won, and I put a 357 Chevy engine inside of an MG, and we ran this race and won it. Like, only my dad would do something like that, right? So he was just really cool, and I was just so proud when I saw all those trophies. As a kid, we also were able to, as I mentioned, go down his vending routes, right? And when we walked into every place, we were rock stars, complete rock stars. They'd walk in the ground round, and we'd go to maybe 3 of them a day, and we'd all have 3 meals, whatever we wanted, all the drinks we could have. It was awesome, right? It was amazing. We'd go to the Elegant Hog, and there'd be peanuts and drinks and Coca-Cola all around us that we could handle, right? But nothing topped our trips to Peak and Peak, where we'd go skiing all day long while he worked, right? He'd be like, oh, help me do the one thing. Oh, Dad, we'll see you later. We're going to go ski, and we're going to do it. Although he was very kind and very gentle or giving, because there are many times that I fell at Peak and Peak, and I spent many hours in the Peach Street Hospital ER with my dad by my side taking care of my knee that I just tore up because I was doing something stupid that I shouldn't have. He also made us the coolest kids in the neighborhood, right? When I got good grades, parents back in the day would give you something, hey, congratulations. And for me to get good grades was very, very difficult at that time. But he wouldn't give me 1 pack, but because he was in the vending business, he got me a whole case of cards. And then I was the coolest kid because I was flipping cards at the back of Roland parking lot and having a good time. He introduced our whole neighborhood to Bubble Yum, right? And he would try to hide it, but we knew exactly where he hid it. We put it up in his closet in his bedroom in the second drawer over, and we'd all go up and steal a pack. Did you get a pack today? Yeah, I got a pack. Peter, you'd go tomorrow. Chad, you go the next day. And
I had no idea.
Right? Well, we kept you in the dark a lot of things. We actually told you how to make your macaroni and cheese the first time. So, but and then you'd walk in, and we had the coolest posters, right? Every poster you would see in Record Rendezvous or Peaches, all those Rockstar posters, they were all over our rooms. We had the albums. It was amazing. And it was just a really cool thing because my dad was always in part of our room because we got those posters and those pictures. And probably the best thing that we got as a kid is he would give us the slugs. Now, I don't know if you guys know what a slug is, but it's a fake quarter that he would get out of the vending machines. So he'd be like, all right, go to my competitors and go buy stuff or go play their games because I don't want them in my machines anymore. So, he was always there. And we were also fortunate because there was never not at least 1 jukebox in my house, 2 most of the times, maybe even a third in the bathroom or 2. We had pinball machines. We had arcade games. And then we became the really coolest family because we had the 64-inch television in our basement, and everyone would come down and watch it. Although, we talk about his coolness, he was also tough as nails, and he rarely complained. And I remember we went down to Florida, and we were on a trip, and my dad had all these cool cars, and then we go to the family truckster, and we had the big black station wagon, and we had the bags on top of the wagon. And I remember my dad putting the bungee cord on one side, and he's like, "Okay, Jack, hold this down." Well, I did a really good job because it flung off and smacked him in the head, blood dripping down his face, and now he's got to drive 24 hours because we're driving straight through back to Cleveland. But he never complained. He drove through the night to do this. And as many of you know, I'm a poker player, and I always ran a pre-Thanksgiving tournament. My dad never played, right? Although someone even today said, "I remember your dad because he was there taking the money from people, or registering them coming in. He would go back in the counting room and count everything, and then put all the money into the envelopes." And it became even cooler when my kids joined my dad to help him out during these tournaments. It just was so touching to me. And then he took those skills later in life, and he was the dealer for blackjack and poker at Myers. So that was his big thing, and he's like, "Okay, I may not play, but I'm going to make sure you guys all play and have a great time." But cool wasn't his only side. He was deeply nurturing and devoted, especially to my mom. For 61 years, he looked out for her, put her on a pedestal, and was forever in love with his beautiful Barbara. He was so nurturing and so careful for her, and I remember this. We went to Mackinac Island as kids, and we were this big, huge mound, and all the kids jump up to this big sand dune. We're all on top, like, "We're king of the world. We're having a great time." My mom, who's the adventurous one of the family, decides to climb up to the top of the board, or to the sand dune with us, and she's all excited, and then she looks down, and then we hear the Louie, and what does he do? He runs right up to the stairs and takes my mom and makes sure she safely comes down. Right? I mean, that was my dad. He just made sure. The love shined every day for 61 years, and it was a joy to witness. Every time I visited, everyone commented how deeply in love we were, how special they were together. He listened to her, he comforted her, he held her hands, and they said, "I love you," until the very end. Dad, I can hear you now, playing piano with the greats like Frank Sinatra, Harry Belafonte, and for my own sake, I hope it's Greg Allman.
Well, I think maybe we probably should have talked to each other before we started putting stories out there, because ditto, okay? Wow, Jack, he's staying at my house.
We actually were sitting next to each other last night, right?
But we didn't talk. Well, to move it along, my dad was the coolest guy I knew, all right? Lou was just cool. He dressed the part. He was just cool. Pictures of my dad growing up with him hanging on the front of his Pontiac with a cap over his head and a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Just, I'm cool. And he was cool. My dad was indestructible. I felt like hearing the story from when he and his brother were crossing the street coming home from a movie, and they got hit by a car, and they were near death. They were in the hospital for, 6 weeks? 8 weeks? It's like 6 or 8 weeks, literally near death, and they survived that. Then, to tell the story that my brother already told, my dad was packing us up, and all of a sudden that bungee cord just came snapping and just smacked him in the forehead. To this day, I can still see the scar, but the blood was dripping down his face, and Jack, Chad, and I are like, "What are we supposed to do?" He goes, "Nothing, just get the stuff up there. We want to go." All right, fair enough. And he drove 24 hours, literally 24 hours to get us home. I think he was that pissed. My poor father. I always called my dad every day. I was in the cell phone business early on in my life, and I happened to have a line that didn't cost me any money. If anybody here remembers, we used to pay by the minute. So it'd be, "Dad, how you doing? Goodbye," type of thing. But for me, because I didn't have to pay for the service, I would call my father. I would spend hours on the phone with them. And he would take every phone call, no matter how busy he was at work. He would pick up that phone, and we would just talk, whatever's going on in the day, whatever's happening, what's going on at work. And then on top of that, then I would wind up stopping at McBuffer's on my way back to my office to have a smoke with my dad, and we would just continue to talk. I had so many opportunities to really have really good one-on-one private time with my dad, which a lot of people in this world don't get to have because our lives tend to take us and move us forward without us really having a chance to sit back and see what's going on. My dad and I found time. We found a lot of time together. Every morning, God, it feels like 10 years, every morning before we would go to work, I would stop and meet my dad and my mom at Jack's for breakfast. And in the beginning, my dad would pay. And it was great because I'd get a free breakfast. By the second year of breakfast, I started paying. And I don't think I ever stopped paying because my dad was smart like that. He said, oh, well, my son's going to pay, and okay. My dad was one of those type of guys, he could see things. He was a visionary. He could look at something and say, this is going to be beautiful, and here's why it's going to be beautiful. And he would sell you on the reason why it's going to be beautiful. But more importantly, after selling it, he did it. He went and took brass that looked like something you would just throw in the garbage and made it look brand new. When I walked into when Harry and I walked into this house that we live in now, it was gutted to the studs. And I sat down with my parents on a cold February morning. I said, hey, I think I found a house I'm going to buy. It needs a ton of work. It's gutted to the studs. It has no plumbing, no nothing. My mom panics. My dad goes, way too much for you. You can't do this. I said, please, just do me a favor. Come and look at it. Walk in the house. My dad literally wasn't 1 foot in the house. He goes, I'll buy it. I'll take it. Well, let's do this. Let's do that. He already had a vision for the entire house. I had to shut him down. My dad was a unique character. He really was. From my dad, I learned the word commitment. My dad was married for 61 years to his wife, Barbara, my mom. And he put up with her for 61 years. So my takeaway from that is you never leave the woman that loves you, no matter what. You don't leave the woman that loves you. And that stands true with the way that I handle my marriage. Oh, by the way, Canner, Harriet, sorry. Kind of forgot you at the beginning. I am still married to my wife, Harriet. We just kind of forgot her. It's been a long week. But I took that away from my father because 61 years of marriage is a commitment. Running a business, being able to open a business from scratch, be able to have it carry forward and provide a roof over the four of our heads without impunity, being able to go to work every day and create his own living and not collect a paycheck from anybody else. That takes a lot of stones to be able to do. And my dad did it, and he did it every day, good days and bad days. He was there. He showed up all the time. And when it came to my mom, he stood side by side with her, toe to toe. She could do no wrong in his eyes, and no matter how much wrong we saw, he didn't side with us. He sided with her. So, but that's the type of guy he was. He was loyal to a fault. And you don't get that kind of loyalty unless it's built in you and ingrained in you. And I got that all from my dad. And the loyalty that I showed to both my brothers, to my family, to everybody, that's a legacy that I will carry forward from my dad. I will never leave the woman that loves me. 58 years of life where the dad is never enough. I'm grateful. I'm sad. I love you, Dad. You said I was your main man. You are my main man. I love you.
All right. Well, as you know, if you know Kusners, there's no shortage of being able to talk in my family. So I actually wrote down some thoughts so that I can try and keep it a little bit concise, and I have some, here they are, don't judge. All right? All right, as I am here today, I'm reflecting on the life of an incredible guy, my dad, Lou. Whew. Oh, if you also know my dad in the last few years, he cried at the drop of a dime, and I apparently got that gene, so, all right, so cut me some slack today. But he was always smiling, and he was always radiating love. And he had a special way of making everybody feel seen, appreciated. I don't care if we were walking into a family party, a restaurant, a store, Everybody liked Lou, and he liked to know everybody's name. There was a hardware store in South Euclid, and if anybody remembers the general store, there was a guy named Scoop, and he was the guy that managed it. And I was with my friend Austin, and we're trying to fix something, and my dad's like, go see Scoop. You go up to the general store, see Scoop, I'll help you out. And I walk up, I go, I'm looking for Scoop, and he goes, what? I'm like, my dad sent me. He goes, so? And I was like, okay. But when he walked back in, Scoop was like, hey, Louie, how you doing? It just needed that smile to put it together. And by the way, even with his 70s porn stash, this stuffed smile was still infectious. You guys remember the stash. All right, he was incredibly giving, and he always put our family's needs above his own, as my brothers said. He worked hard, he provided for us, and he never asked for a thank you. His focus was always on his wife, his kids, and his grandkids. He taught us to value hard work, unconditional love, and he gave us the tenacity to go out and carve our own way. He loved his grandkids so much. And I might be biased. I mean, I'm definitely biased. But when he found out, and with Tyler and Ethan coming, it was like a bonus round for him. Having grandkids after the first set were kind of grown up, he took so much advantage of it. He was always the first one with my mom to come and grab the kids, take them any chance he had. He was constantly calling. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I'd like to hang out with him too, you know. But it was amazing to see how much he loved them. And even in his final days, he would always go, how's Ethan? How's Tyler? Tell him I love him. We also had a connection because we worked together for 10 years at his company, McBuffers. And it was awesome. I learned a ton. I got to hang out with my dad. And together we learned about motorcycles. We started buying, each bought a bike and we'd go riding. And it was pretty awesome. He was the cook of the family, right? So Dad was always making his concoctions. There was something we'd call muck. And don't ask me what was in it because it was never probably the same stuff twice. But it was a big thing of like mashed potatoes, meats, and vegetables. It was like his shepherd's pie. And it would never make it through the afternoon when he'd make it for us, typically on a Sunday, so that we'd veg out on the couch with him. But it's most interesting that when I see people and they talk about his food, it's the egg salad and the tuna salad. Bring your egg salad, Louie. Bring your tuna salad. I don't know what he put in it, but I think you can buy it at a few stores here in Cleveland now, apparently. But I think it's the small moments. Damn it. Darn it. Being young, 7, 8, and laying in his bed and watching Barney Miller and asking to stay up for a taxi. I'll never forget it. And even like recently when I would take him to a doctor's appointment, and he's 87, right? And I'm driving him in my car, but it was still nice. And he'd be like, you take me for a Whopper Jr.? And of course I'll take you for a Whopper Jr. We'd get his Whopper Jr., he'd go home and he'd eat his onion rings. And it was just, it could be something so small. And that's what made him so awesome. Lou's love for life, his passion for family, personality, and his charisma, they're forever going to forever going to live in all of us. So for that, Dad, I thank you, and I love you forever.
We're going to invite at this time Carter and Jordan, some of the grandchildren, to share some words also.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I have a couple quick words I'll say for myself, and then everyone else had kind of put some stuff together. When I think about my grandfather, I look back at times where we went to Chautauqua, and I was with my sister actually, and I remember I kept falling off the bed over and over and over throughout my sleep, and my sister kept hanging on to me by my shirt, making sure I wouldn't fall off the bed and hurt myself. So that's one of the great memories I have personally, and I also am fortunate enough to have had my son Ezra and watch my grandfather become a great-grandfather. And it was very, very awesome watching him. Every time I would see him, he would ask about my son, how's Ezra, how's Ezra? And that to me meant more than the world. Being able to watch that, I remember going to McBuffer's as a child and basically just sitting there running around, terrorizing the shop and knocking stuff over. And, it was pretty funny. And sitting on Poppy's motorcycles was all super fun to me. I love cars. I love motorcycles. My sister can remember going to a Britney Spears concert, and after the concert, she ran into my grandfather and my Uncle Chad, and she just begged my dad, can I ride home on the bike? Can I ride home on the bike? I know that was one of the main things that she remembers. She also loved Poppy's famous egg salad, as my dad and uncles had possibly mentioned. And also staying up late, being able to watch TV when me and everyone else would fall asleep. That was a key memory for her. And Tyler, my little guy right here, said he'll always remember Poppy taking him to McDonald's, which he took us all to McDonald's to make sure we were fed our favorite things from McDonald's whenever we asked, we received. Tyler also remembers going to the airport and watching airplanes because airplanes are a big part of his personal life and something that he loves. And Ethan always remembered Poppy wearing his big hats and everything like that. I just want to say my final words will be rest in peace, Poppy. I love you so much. I'm so glad we spent all the time we have for years and years and years. And I hope that your charisma and energy can transfer over into my son and he can live a great rest of his life. Thank you. We will miss you. And thank you all again for coming.
The McDonald's is the important part of that, I think. We all really love my grandfather. I think the first thing we should say is just thinking and thanking our dads, the brothers throughout all this, and of course Nina. They've done a lot, and they did a lot to make sure Poppy's final months and days were as comfortable and as good as they could be. The hardest thing for us, I'm sure, is that with age and with time, the most fun stuff gets stripped away and you have to see him as his most human and normal self. But even at that level, at his base, every time he loved us and he just poured out love. I mean, Jack or George, all the names getting mixed up in my mouth, but Chad mentioned, crying at the drop of a hat, but that was just him showing his true emotions on his sleeve without any inhibition. And all that showed was every time that he loved us to tears. And I think that's a good way to... He was the best. And I'm just happy that we got those last good few days with him and that he'll always be remembered as someone who just loved. That's it. Love you, Poppy.
Wildly unprepared per usual, but to follow all of this up because I forgot to text my anecdotes to Jordan. Thank you once again all for being here. He would have loved to see all of your faces. All he did was smile. All he did was pour out love, especially for all of us. And I'm going to miss that. And especially not living here, I didn't get to see him as much as everyone else, and it makes me sad, but I know that my childhood memories will always be with me, and those are some of the best. I don't know if anyone remembers American Cafe, the Stars and Stripes, shopping around Target, filling up a cart with random crap that we didn't need because my parents already spoiled us completely. Another egg special was his Rocky Mountain Toast, and I felt remiss if I didn't share that. So, I don't know. Those are some of the best moments, and I would have regretted not saying them. So, once again, thank you for being here. Rest in peace, Poppy.
Our sages teach that words that come from the heart penetrate the heart. Beautiful words from the family members. Lou was born on April 11th, 1930. He and his brothers of blessed memory, Joel, were raised in Cleveland. Their parents, Ben and Pauline, of blessed memory, raised them in a loving and a nurturing home. They also had the privilege to be raised amongst their uncles and aunts. And as you heard throughout the eulogies today, family is of prime importance. And it was something that he saw as a child, and he made sure to inculcate within his family in the future. Lou attended John Adams, and upon graduation went to The Ohio State University for a year. After college, he joined the Air Force for 4 years in Michigan. As mentioned, he went through a very traumatic time with his brother as a child, and he survived being hit by a vehicle. And this is due to his optimistic attitude as well as his work ethic. And of course, God had some big plans for him in the future. During his years in Michigan, while he was in the Air Force, he did the endurance race, which I found out was a 24-hour race. Pretty amazing, and he loved the thrill of riding the cars. Upon returning to Cleveland, he went on a blind date with Barbara. They dated for 6 months, and as they say, the rest is a beautiful love story. Barbara mentioned yesterday that she had broken off a previous engagement and was set up with Lou, and immediately going out with him knew that he was going to be her soulmate. As the cliche says, opposites attract. One of the sons mentioned, Lou was like a character in Green Acres and Barbara was Park Avenue. They couldn't have been more different, but yet it made so much sense. Perfect sense to end up as one another. He had a magnetic personality. He was very charismatic, a great sense of humor, and was charming. He was honest to a T. He was selfless and went above and beyond to his own detriment. He only wanted to do it for his friends and family and others. He even had the same pair of jeans that he wore almost, I believe, for 30 or 40 years, which is pretty incredible that he still fits in them. But Barbara said he was a true romantic, and he truly loved her. Even when they would bicker and argue, it never lasted very long, to the point it was forgotten and I didn't even know why they argued in the first place. They would tell each other daily how much they love each other. And they never tired of one another. He was always so complimentary and truly had a heart of gold. They took many trips together, including traveling to Europe, specifically Spain and England. They went to St. Martin's, Puerto Vallarta, and Jamaica. But truthfully be told, it didn't matter where they really went, as long as they were together. As mentioned, he was a tremendous cook, and any opportunity to share his specialties and make people feel good, he took advantage of that. The sons mentioned yesterday that Lou and Barbara took a trip to Fort Lauderdale, and they would love to go to this Chinese restaurant. And they would have these lobsters in the tank. And Lou couldn't get over the size of them, but the bang for the buck, how inexpensive it was and how enjoyable it was. He had an unbelievable ability to put things in perspective, giving clarity and simplifying situations where people couldn't see what he was talking about, but it would come to fruition. He loved to play piano, and regardless who was around, it never intimidated him to play. He recognized he had the gift. Barbara said that he truly was a genius. He was very diverse. Once he put his mind towards learning something, he mastered it. Barbara and Lou were a Hamish, warm and welcoming couple. They gave their boys the gift of witnessing a true loving, nurturing, and healthy romantic relationship. Lou was very successful in multiple businesses. He opened his metal refinishing business at one point and owned 3 stores at one point, including the store mentioned in Coventry. In the 80s, he recognized the value of brass. Eventually, he sold all 3 stores for a profit and opened McBuffer's, offering a variety of services, cleaning brass, doorknobs, escalators, just to name a few of his services. He was a good student and a very quick learner. Due to his magnetic personality, people just wanted to be around him because he was so unique and he made them feel good. The family was truly special to him, and he took great pride in his boys and their grandchildren and the ultimate gift, a great-grandchild. Grandma Gert was born on Christmas Day, and the family would celebrate Hanukkah and a birthday together and came up with a catchphrase, Christmaska, for Hanukkah. And then we'd have a very competitive cook-off between grandmas, Gert and Pauline, who would make better kreplach. They were close to Rabbi Green, their cousin from Temple Emmanuel, and he was a strong influence on the family. The boys all went through consecration, had bar mitzvahs, and stayed true to their Jewish identities. In this week's Torah portion, it's a portion of Genesis, and we introduced the first patriarch, Abraham, and his wife, Sarah, the matriarch. Abraham had a larger-than-life personality. He touched many people's lives and was a great influence on many. We don't believe in coincidence. Lou happened to pass away the same week. Additionally, the rabbis tell us upon the birth of a child, God imbues the parents with a form of minor prophecy to name the child. And the name that they're given in Hebrew reflects their potential and personality. Label is his Hebrew name, and I'm not sure any of you ever asked him what it means. I don't know if he himself knew what it meant, but Label means a lion. Within the name Label, you have the word Lev, the root of Lev, which means a heart. He was good-hearted, and he penetrated everybody else's heart. While the loss of an individual and someone so beloved is immense, Lou truly understood his purpose in this world, and he brought joy and made this world a better place. May his name always be for a blessing, and we say, Amen. Please rise for the memorial prayer. El male rachamim, shochein b'meromim, hametzei menucha nechonam, tachat kanfei hashechina, b'malot kedoshim etohorim, kezohar arakia mazirim, and nishmat Lebo ben Binyamin, שלח לעולמו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. אהנה בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בצדק כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. Exalted and compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Lou, who is gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound in the bond of life, and may he rest in peace, and let us say Amen. Interment will follow at Mount Olive Cemetery. Shiva hours for today are between the hours of 1 and 8 at 31691 Cedar Road. We ask, if possible, we're going to do a very short service at 7 p.m. that we could have a minyan tonight. So once again, between 1 and 8 at 31691 Cedar Road.